Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to our Wednesday Meet the Team live interview and show and tell situation. If you don't know, I'm Tessa Bide and I have a theatre company based in Bristol, UK, and we make theatre shows for young people and families, and then normally we tour them around the UK and abroad. This year there's none of that going on. So instead, we are reaching out to you through digital means. So we are coming to you every week with different interesting things that we thought you guys might like to watch and be engaged with during lockdown. Every Wednesday we have been doing a meet the team session, and this all sprung about because normally when we make shows, we go into primary schools and we rehearse in the school, and then we go into the different classes and we kind of talk to the pupils there about what our jobs involve. And this has always been super duper popular, and the teachers as well as the children have just been really interested to know what it's actually like being an actor or being a director, and also finding out completely new roles that they didn't know existed during making a show. Like last week we had a video and projection designer. Then the week before we had Leonard, who's a designer. So just the more backstage jobs as well. And then what we thought we'd do is do this every week, bring to you a new brilliant person so that you guys can get to know a little bit more about the theatre industry. And perhaps after lockdown, you may want to do one of these jobs when this is all over, or when you're older. Hopefully we won't put you off. So today I am so pleased to bring to you an incredibly brilliant woman. Her name is Peta Maurice, and she is an actor, performer, singer, voiceover artist, and director. And I first met Peta a few years ago when I first moved to Bristol. She was in a show that I believe she's going to talk about, called My Baby Just Cares for Me, and it was so emotional. I wept all the way through it. I went by myself, and then I had to go home, cried all the way home, and then I had to get into my flat and just cry for a bit longer whilst my boyfriend kind of awkwardly tapped me on the back. So and it was all because she's an amazing performer. So without further ado, I shall welcome Peta Maurice. Hi, Peta.
Hello. Hi. Hello.
How are
you?
So
funny listening to that introduction. Oh, bless you.
I know. God, Weep Fest. It really was. Wowza.
Weep Fest. It was a funny one. I know I'm gonna talk a bit about it in a minute, but yeah, it was one of those like moments that had quite a quiet ending, and all you could hear from the audience was like
sobs. Yeah.
Like people trying not to like snot all over their chin.
I was doing proper shuddery, like and when you're by yourself, it's just, it's a very exposing thing. And then I got home and my boyfriend was like, "Oh, are you sad? Are you okay? Like, was it bad?" And I was like, "It was really good. I'm kind of happy and sad." Like like that. So I'm
I will just say now though, it wasn't all down to my brilliant performance. I think Adam Fuller, the other performer who was puppeteering,
he was all right.
He had quite a bit to do with that.
Yes.
He just forgot he was there because his puppeteering was so good. He was just like dressed in black, being a ninja in the background.
A puppet ninja.
Puppet ninja, yeah.
And yeah, that was the first time I met you, and I knew Adam already because we had done stuff with Stuff and Nonsense before, and then since then Adam's directed a few of our shows. He directed he did some work on The Tap Dancing Mermaid. He directed Perfect. He directed Selfish Giant, and then you were coming on board for the Anarchist Mobile Library, weren't you? Which was going to be touring this year. We did rehearsals. You learnt it all and was super great.
Yeah.
And then lockdown happened.
And we literally rehearsed in the smallest caravan, and then went into lockdown like a week later.
Yeah.
We were definitely not social distancing.
No.
And then suddenly we really were.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was such a lovely show. I mean, it is a lovely show, and it will be, and we will carry on, and we will definitely bring it to the masses once this craziness has finished. just beautiful storytelling in a beautiful little caravan place.
But in the meantime, it would be really, really lush to just know a little bit more about you and know what your life is like, being a performer and, you know, doing your voiceover and your directing. I myself would really like to know, just as well as our audience. So yeah, please, over to you. Thank you very much.
Exciting. So what is life like as an actor? Oh, it's a dream. A very hard dream. No, it's really great. And I think I always say lots of fingers, lots of pies, because personally I like to try and have as many skills as possible, so that skills that I can hone and be good at, rather than just crazy like half playing a harmonica, which I've done before. So I do performance, which I'd say essentially I am a performer and singer. I do a bit of singing as well, but I've always done a bit of directing. I do a bit more directing now that I've got two very lovely little ladies, because when I was doing lots of acting, I was touring around all over the place, which is a difficult thing to do when you should probably be mothering your children.
Yes.
So so lots more directing now, lots more voiceover now, because that's a great thing to do, because you're just in a studio with a microphone, all by yourself for an hour, doing all sorts of very funny voices, which is what I've always wanted to do. If you asked me when I was 6, what do you want to be when you're grown up, I would have said somebody who does voices for cartoons, please. Cool. So I have a lot of fun reading children's books to my children before they go to bed, because I just baffle them with the amount of voices that I do and entertain myself.
I've already seen the amazing dinosaur that you created with your daughter today, which had a fully operational moving head. So yeah, they sound pretty lucky, really. They've got A-class entertainment.
Well, I'm kind of honing every theatre in education job I've ever done at the moment, doing the homeschooling for my reception child. But I've also got a 2-year-old who doesn't necessarily need to go to school, so trying to find a balance there. So that's my job at the moment. But previous to being a homeschooler, I was doing some performing. I think the last major show I was in was Rapunzel at the Egg over Christmas, and that was really, really good fun. But let's go back, because I think Tess, you've got a photograph of My Baby Just Cares for Me, which is the show that made Tessa cry all the way home and beyond. I don't know, is it up now?
It is, yeah.
So you can just about see Adam. He's wearing all black, but we had 3 different puppets. So I played the daughter Catherine in this show, and it was lovely because there was lots of the whole set was built kind of using scaffolding. So I did a lot of I do kind of a bit of aerial and trapeze and stuff like that, which I was doing a lot at the time. And most of the movement was very much kind of trapeze work in and out of the scaffold bars as well. So that was really lovely for me. And the puppet that you can see is actually the last puppet in the show. So I play the daughter of the dad. So this is little dad, and he starts off as a full-size dad. And the character of dad suffers from dementia, and it's kind of their story and how the roles reverse from father looking after daughter to daughter looking after father when he gets older, and the puppets kind of get smaller. And it was just such a lovely fun. I know it sounds very sad, and it was very sad, but it was a really, really fun show to work on. Really nice to work with puppets as well. I do like working with puppets. I know that Tessa Bide is a puppetry expert as well.
Much.
Yeah, you are. Puppeteer of Bristol.
I can just control them.
Yeah, so that was really, really lovely show. Hey?
I could just control puppets, and I'm a massive control freak, so they're easier to control than people. So
there you go. Yeah, exactly. So I talked a little bit about climbing there and doing the work on the scaffolding. So I do tend to do quite a lot of physical theatre, a lot of children's theatre as well, which quite often has got a physical element to it. So I don't know, the next photo that I've given to Tessa to look at is from The Borrowers, which was at the Tobacco Factory a few Christmases ago.
2018, wasn't it?
What year is this?
Yeah, I think you did it the same year that we were making Selfish Giant, because we both used Gwen Hales as our kind of clambering about director. So she was working on the Selfish Giant and The Borrowers, and she was kind of going between the two. And she was saying, I just made this really cool hoovering scene, and you know, and I was getting...
which I've got a photo of as well. So we had to do a lot of climbing. So you can't see in this photo, but the set was amazing. It had like kind of a ladder going that way and another ladder kind of crossing over. So the borrowers, when they were going up, so if you don't know, borrowers are people about the size of a crayon. So we played people that big. So we had to, in the Tobacco Factory, which has got quite a short ceiling, is that the right term? Low ceiling. We had to kind of figure out a way to make believe that we were going up into this big house. So those ladders were a really nice way to use the space and kind of climb above people's heads. So we did a lot of rope climbing, as you can see in that picture. And a lot of clambering upside down across the ladders, kind of the length of the Tobacco Factory. So that was really fun. If the next photograph is the Hoover Scene. So we had a really lovely kind of end of the first half where the borrowing family, so Pod and Homily and Arietti we're getting sucked basically into a Hoover. Arietti doesn't quite make it, and she gets sucked all the way into the 1950s Hoover, which was quite fun because the Hoover was left in the middle of the stage all the way through the interval. So it was tremendously physical and pretending you're being sucked off stage, like. So we used to kind of splat against the wall after we'd been finally kind of sucked away, and just kind of like have to regain our breath for quite a long time, especially me and Craig, who are a bit older than the old fit Jess there that played Arietti. She was all right. We're like that. The next photo as well, I don't know if you've got that one, but that is also kind of mid Hoover Scene. So finding a way to kind of roll across a stage and then grab onto something, and really use your muscles. It was really, really good fun.
Gwen used to tell us about the quite intense warm-up she used to make you guys do, kind of, you know, half an hour of clambering about and quite a lot of conditioning that kind of had the groundwork kind of had to be laid down before you could then, you know, pull that stuff off. I imagine that was quite full on. Yeah,
definitely. Even in the R&D, which was in September, we had the R&D, and we kind of played around a bit. We had a little look at the Hoover Scene, but obviously it was just to kind of get some ideas and stuff. And R&D means research and development. So we were kind of researching into the script and developing some movement and stuff just for a week. And then she said, right, you've now got 6 weeks to be able to do pull-ups. We were like, oh, okay. So it was a bit of a challenge, really. So we all kind of met back up again going, can you do a pull-up now? Who can do a pull-up? How many can you do? But luckily, my husband's got a pull-up bar in the garage. So I was out there and I managed to do it. So that was good. But a lot of conditioning. Yeah, so now being in lockdown, I'm not quite as fit as I was. Nobody's making me do these silly things like pull-ups and physical theatre. So the other picture, have I just got the picture of like my kind of performance stuff that I've got is of Rapunzel last year, where I played 2 different characters. So I was kind of cast as Mother Gothel. which you may or may not know, Mother Gothel is the kind of witch character that steals Rapunzel. Actually, she didn't steal the baby in our production. She finds Rapunzel and brings her up as her own, and then gets very kind of jealous of people and fears that she's going to run away from her and go off with somebody, so she locks her in this tower, and her hair grows. I'm sure you all know that. She's got very long hair. So Mother Gothel was kind of a 65-year-old woman, so I was like, thanks guys for casting me as that. But also I was cast as this character here in the photo, who was Paolo, who was the prince's brother, who was an 18-year-old boy. So I was a 65-year-old woman and an 18-year-old boy. So it was really fun trying to find those two characters and make them completely different. With me in the cast, and also Nick Partridge, who's a brilliant director, and finding those two characters was great. And the costume changes were so fast. There was definitely a couple of members of the audience who didn't realize that I was playing
really?
both. Yeah, they said, a couple of people thought that knew that I was Paolo, but didn't figure out that I was Mother Gothel, which is interesting because Mother Gothel is obviously the female. But I haven't got a picture of Mother Gothel.
Probably because you look more 18 than 65, Peter, I would say. You're freshest of fresh faces.
I don't know. I think this is quite a good light, actually. Maybe I'll just sit looking out of this window every day, waiting for my hair to grow down to the bottom. Been in lockdown for quite a while, and my hair's still quite short. I'm going to hang on a minute. There's the lovely lady who was making my costumes, made me this, which is like a costumed doll version of what I look like as Mother Gothel. So there you go. There's my picture of Mother Gothel, and this is my actual skirt material.
Amazing. I've never seen that's like a like model box version of a costume. I've not seen that done.
Yes. Well, very weirdly, nice. This she didn't need to do this, bless her, but she's so lovely that she was my secret Santa, and this was my present at Christmas. So yeah, I was very lucky to get Anna as my secret Santa person, because she made me a model of myself.
I'll put the camera just on you so we can see it a bit clearer now.
Oh yeah,
the photo's not
there. There you go. So I can't quite fit the whole thing in. There you go. Put it back a bit. So yeah, so that's, imagine my face on that. That's pretty much it.
Don't need to see the show now.
Climbing up the tower. I know you don't know exactly. Well, it's not on anymore, so you can't.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Put her there. Brilliant. So moving swiftly on. So we talked a little bit about silly voices. I won't tell you any more about my silly voices. They'll just come out because I've got silly voice Tourette's, I think. So I've done, I mentioned some children's shows. So I've done a lot of children's shows, and I had the pleasure of auditioning for We're Going on a Bear Hunt, which Sally Cookson was directing at the time. So I met Sally in that audition, and I didn't get that job. However, I then did get a phone call not too far into the future. I don't think that makes sense, but yeah, not too long after, I got a phone call from the company Scamp, who worked with Sally Cookson to direct some of their shows at the time, and ended up in a show called Stickman. So Stickman is one of Julia Donaldson's books. Quite a well-known story anyway, but it's become more known now because it was made into one of the Christmas TV shows that Magic Light do, I think, on the BBC. So I was in Stickman, the show, Stickman Live with Scamp, which was a brilliant show. I haven't got any photos, sorry. And also then I went into Tiddler and Other Terrific Tales, which is also a bunch of Julia Donaldson stories. So through doing those shows, I met Julia Donaldson quite a few times because she's brilliant and so proactive, and she would come along to our performances and sign books for the audience afterwards. Sometimes with Axel, so Axel Scheffler, met him as well. He's lovely. So he would come along as well and do some signings. But Julia used to come along quite often, and I ended up then working. If you want to put the next photo on, I can't see the photo, so
it's there.
Is it up?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. So this, I ended up then working with Julia Donaldson, because she knew that I'd been on the devising team for Tiddler, and Scamp, two lovely ladies at the time, Lou and Jen, put my name forward for helping to direct Julia in a show of her own that she could bring to the Edinburgh Festival. So looking at that photo, so you've obviously got the Gruffalo right in the middle. I was going to try and make up who that was, but I think you all know it's the Gruffalo. So Julia's the one with the lovely mouse ears there, because she always plays the storyteller, the mouse, in the Gruffalo story. And then the lovely gentleman underneath her is Malcolm, Julia's husband, who's just gorgeous. He's so lovely, brilliant guitar player, very good character actor. So then we've got James, who's got the snake, so he's a professional actor. And then the lovely lady on the other side with the owl mask is Julia's sister, Mary, and they quite often work, well, they always work together. So she was in our shows as well. So I directed this show, which was the Gruffalo, the Ladybird. Gruffalo's Ladybirds and Other Beasts. We call it Glob. So I quite often forget what it's actually called. Yeah, catchy, Glob. Gruffalo's Ladybirds and Other Beasts. So it was a collection of her stories. And the amazing set that you can see behind it was made by James Lewis, painted by his wife Rebecca, but made such a beautiful set. So that was our first show, and that was back in 2015. That went to the Edinburgh Festival. And then if you go on the next photo that I've got is because I'd started a family by that point, and this next photo is my lovely little girl, who is now 5.5 and a bit, Lola, and she was quite diddy at the time. I think she was about 9 months when we were rehearsing it. So this is Lola wearing one of the Zog masks that the kids the kids came on stage and wore. So quite had to bring Lola into rehearsals to kind of feed, and so she got a bit of we've got a really sweet video of Malcolm and Julia singing a really cute song to her. So that's Lola. And then the next show we did, which was then, so that was 2015. And then the next show that we did that went to Edinburgh was in 2018. And I basically said to James Lewis, who makes these amazing sets that turn into loads of different things, I said, I just want like really massive books. So go. So he came up with this amazing set, which if you were looking at the picture, you probably recognize some of those books. So those are the stories that we had in the show, and the whole set opens up, and the magic and the broom pops out from underneath one of the books, and the whole thing opens out into the Gruffalo's forest at the end, and we had a table popping up for the cook and the king to be played on. So and the puppets we had were really fantastic as well.
Kind of makes you feel like a borrower looking at it, because they're so
I know
massive.
Yeah, definitely. And you can't really see how big those books are. It's a bit of a funny stage, the one that we play on in Edinburgh, because it's Udderbelly, which is a really, really big upside down purple cow. I don't know if anybody's seen it. You might have. Sometimes it's on South Bank as well. But the space inside the audience come round kind of 3 sides, so you're always having to kind of think where to play. So it was a bit of a tricky one to make. And so if you go on to the next photo, that's kind of the cast and crew on the set, so you can kind of see, yeah, how it works with people on there. Yeah. So yeah, so other than that, so that's kind of my directing, my kind of bigger directing career. I've quite often directed my own children's shows and things like that, that I've written and put on in various little places, but I haven't done that for a while, or pantos at schools. That's kind of a way back. But yeah, so now I'm doing, yeah, a bit more directing, and also I do quite a lot of improv. So I'm in 2 improvisation groups in Bristol. Instant Wit, I've been with. I was at some point the youngest member of Instant Wit, and now that I'm in my 40s, I just definitely am not anymore. So I don't know how old I was, but I was in my 20s when I joined Instant Wit, and it still feels like only yesterday. I say in my 40s, I'm only 41. I'm not like well in my 40s. not yet. So yeah, Instant Wit, that's me. Yeah, doing a silly song into a egg whisk or something, with Chris Grimes, and we just take little suggestions from the audience and then just improvise a little scene around whatever they suggest, which is great fun, very silly, a bit like Have I Got News for You? So we might say, can we have a location, and somebody might say yes, underneath a car bonnet, for instance. So then we would have to improvise a whole scene underneath a car bonnet. So it's really up to the audience where we go on our silly little journeys.
You used to come to Bridport Arts Centre when I lived back in Dorset, in Bridport, and I remember seeing you guys there and it blowing my mind, because I think it was the first improv I'd ever seen. So yeah, that was a really good education for me as a young pup into, you know, the world of improv and how quickly your brains work.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I think trade secret, you only need to be like a step ahead of the audience for people for their minds to be blown. Yeah. And actually adrenaline is great for that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really that we do what we call format, so little games. So it's kind of short form improvisation. So we do a scene, and it might only last 2 minutes, and then we're on to the next thing. And it's really it's just really good fun, and we always have a bit of a giggle. And the other group that I have joined much more recently is Closer Each Day. And Closer Each Day is the longest running improvised soap opera in the world. So the narrative, so the story of the soap opera is ongoing, it's continuous. So it's not short form, even though the scenes might be quite short, they're open-ended. So then we can come back on and carry on from where we left off. Or, you know, a scene might have been resolved off stage, and then we come back on and you see what the result of that is, but it's completely ongoing. Which was a whole different ball game for me, because I was so used to going da-da-da, end scene. Yeah. Now I'm like, I can carry on the scene.
And do you have kind of parameters within? You can't kind of drop a massive curveball. Like, I'm pregnant, and then end scene. Can you do that, or is there kind of parameters in which you can't, suddenly kill a character, or, how open is it?
So you can definitely drop bombs like I'm pregnant, because that's just making an offer for a big storyline. So things like that are great, because if something like that people have to deal with, then it opens up a whole new kind of season of stories or whatever. But just before I joined, one of the characters that Annette Chown plays, I always get her character name confused with her actual name. Eliza. Whew. So she was pregnant with triplets, although she was pretending to be pregnant with triplets. So she was just stuffing more and more stuff up her jumper. And that was great because it ran through the whole season. And obviously the season climax was that everybody found out that it was all just a hoax. So you can do things like that. Killing someone's a bit harsh.
Yeah, if you just want to quit. It's quite...
Yeah, well, people have kind of killed themselves off, and if people are leaving, they might say tonight's my last episode, but then that's all we'll know. So if that's their last episode, then we don't know how, like, they might get shot, they might jump out of a window, they might just pack a bag and leave. Like, anything can happen, so we don't discuss anything at all.
Oh,
even in the wings, we just watch it and then walk on when we think it's our scene. So yeah.
Oh, I've got to go and see it when it's back on. It's been on my to watch list for so long.
Yeah, and you can get cheaper tickets if you join Neighbourhood Watch.
Really?
Yeah, Neighbourhood Watch. I'll send you the link. Now you can go on the website or the Facebook group of Closer Each Day, and if you're a member of Neighbourhood Watch, it's £7, and £7 to go to the wardrobe. Obviously, we're not doing it at the moment, as you can imagine, but we're trying to, like you are, just kind of keep kind of a few bits and pieces trickling into the social media world. But yeah,
great.
Don't know when it's going to start again. Yeah, so I don't know what
I've
else.
got one more photo here of you flying through the air.
Have you? Oh yes, this was like a if there's one thing I'd like to do. Oh, did you show that really ridiculous photo of Closer Each Day?
Yes, I did.
My character. I forgot that one. That's Davita. So this is me. I had the pleasure of doing another R&D for Gwen Hales that we were talking about earlier, the clambering lady, she was kind of looking. Oh, I won't go into what we were actually doing, but I got to do some amazing kind of flying and things like this. So this is me flying through the air, and this is something that I want to do in a show, which I've never done. I've always, wanted to be kind of a real Peter Pan. I think I'm too old for that now, but actually do some flying on stage.
Yeah.
I've done clambering. I've done trapeze kind of stuff.
Flying is
not
next.
Swinging trapeze. I want to do flying. I want to fly across the stage. Yeah, well, that was kind of no harness. It was just a handhold, and then somebody doing the counterbalance. So when they climbed down the ladder, I went up, and I'm literally just holding on. You can't really see how high I am because you can't see the floor, but yeah, it was really fun. Obviously, you're just relying on your own wrist strength.
Yes.
And I've broken both of my wrists. Have been broken in my time, so
yikes.
Yeah, it's really fun. So drink out of my Harry Potter cup.
Oh, I've loved those photos. Thank you so much. That's been such a brilliant window into your world, and I think what I've loved with this series of interviews is just seeing like how multifaceted these roles are, and your life and your career is a perfect example of that, and these different pots that you kind of dip into, for different projects. Is there you said that voiceover was always your dream. Is that your happiest place? Is that your favorite thing to do, or do they all have their own merits?
I think they definitely all have their own merits. I think if I was doing, so my dream when I was younger was to do like voices for cartoons. And if I had that as a job, if I could go into a studio and voice a character that was in a series of cartoons or something like that. I think that probably would be my dream job. I'd just love it, because I like doing voices, but
if we've
when
got
you're a voiceover
Pixar
artist
watching or Disney, then you know where to look.
Indeed. And sometimes you just end up kind of reading a computer manual, which is not quite as interesting.
I did one where I had to talk about the real living wage, and I just spent ages being like, real living, like 2 L's, 1 L.
Oh, tricky. Yeah.
We've
One of my favourite voiceover. Sorry, go on.
We've had a couple of questions coming in on the Facebook chat. Do you wanna finish off what you're saying, or should we go with them?
No, I was going to say, I'll do it really quickly. One of my favourite voiceover stories, anecdotes, is from Stephen Fry when he was doing the Harry Potter books, and J.K. Rowling had written Harry pocketed it, and he just couldn't say it. Harry pocketed it. And yeah, so he phoned her and said, "Could we change it?" And she said no, and then put it in all the books afterwards. So
really? Is it in every book now?
Yeah, and I was so
amazing.
excited because I knew that somebody told me that Matt Whittle from Close Reach Day told me that story, and then I actually saw Stephen Fry telling that story, and then because I've been reading the Harry Potter books to my oldest, Lola, and I came across the sentence "Harry pocketed it," and weirdly I couldn't say it either. I was like, oh, I know what he means.
Pocketed it. Yeah, really hard.
Yeah, Harry pocketed it.
I wonder if J.K. Rowling was just having a laugh, or whether she clearly doesn't read them aloud as she writes them. What's going on there?
Now that I'm reading aloud, I keep thinking, she's trying to trip him up.
So we've got a couple of questions coming in, and if you're watching this and you'd like to put a question to Peter, then please do so in the comments. We've got Jodie, who first says you're looking great, and
Thanks,
in your 40s you're looking good on it. Did you always want to act? That's her first question, so let's start with that.
Did I always want to act? I definitely wanted to act from an early age, but there was definitely a time where I was too scared to be in the limelight. I think I used to kind of hide away a bit, I suppose, but that even though I probably wanted to do it, I was quite shy. I think I've always been that kind of person that was too nervous to do something in public, and if I thought I'd get it wrong or look silly.
Yeah.
Now I don't care about that, Jodie. I'm actually doing more of the improv stuff has definitely made me more confident in just being on stage and rolling with it.
That's a huge leap from being nervous to go on stage to going on stage without a script or without any prep. That's a huge leap. How did you in your kind of teens or early 20s, how did you kind of make that leap of confidence?
I don't think I did make that leap of confidence until after because I did theatre and media at university rather than drama school. And at university I was still like, oh, I hate improv, like I don't like improvising. So I'm not really sure where that leap came in. I started doing murder mystery parties, and that was all quite a lot of improvising, because you had scenarios and how the evening would work rather than a script. So that kind of probably helped. I think I just got more confidence in myself, just all round.
And people often say, there's a lot of contention between the whole university and drama school thing. And I remember when I was at school, everyone was saying, oh, if you want to go into theatre, you must go to drama school instead of university. Where do you stand on that debate? Was university great for you? Did you ever, want to be on the other side? Has that ever kind of made a difference to you in your career?
I would say it kind of depends on what person you are a little bit. However, because I teach quite a lot as well, and I teach older people who are kind of making those choices, and I always say, because I don't have an agent either, but I've made a career. I had an agent for about 6 months, and she just offered me the jobs that I already knew about.
For anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely different paths, like dramas. If you absolutely 100% at 16 or whatever know that you want to be a performer, then drama school is fantastic. I was a little bit scared of going down that one route, so I did it at university, because then there was media involved as well, and I think my parents probably were a bit nervous of me just going down the drama school route as well. So I think that's why I made that decision. A lot of my friends were going to university, but at the end of the day, I am where I am now, and I went to university, and I don't have an agent. What it does mean is that I've had to work harder for myself. So I have written plays and put them on and directed them and done the producing of them, made props for them.
Yeah.
Rather than an agent phoning me and saying, "Hello, would you like to do this?" And me going, "Great, thanks. You do the things." Yeah. So I think I'm not the kind of person that can. Well, like you said before, you like puppetry because you like being in control. I didn't like the feeling of somebody else being in control of
that's always been
my life.
thing.
Yeah. So if you're willing to put in kind of, be your own finance person and your own director, and you've got the
chat,
the willpower to work.
We've got another question here from Alex, saying, "What's your dream role?" Ooh.
Oh, what's my dream role? Gosh. Oh, do you know what? That's a really hard question. I'm going to give a really cheesy answer only because it's at the forefront of my mind. And if my family are watching downstairs, they might have lost interest by now. They'll laugh at this. I really, really love, I love singing. I never would have, I completely went off musicals at some point in my life, even though I loved them when I was little. But we've just been watching Shrek, the musical, and Princess Fiona in that is hilarious.
You would be a great Princess Fiona.
She's burpy and farty and princessy at the same time, and and it really makes me chuckle. So a comedy. I couldn't do straight princess. Couldn't do that, but comedy Bertie farty one I could do.
Great.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah. Lush. I could see you in that. I could see you absolutely smashing that. Jodie also says, "Are your children going to follow in your footsteps? Is Lola a little performer?"
At home, I think. She gets quite nervous in front of people. She's getting better actually, but she never liked to kind of get up and we went to Diddy dance and she wouldn't even let me stand up because she was like, no. So I'm not sure yet. They do like singing and dancing at home, so we'll see how it goes. But I haven't sent them to any classes yet.
2 years old? Well, she's too late then. She's, Elsie's
2.5. She's past it.
Oh yeah, way past it. She should retire really.
Yeah. Too late.
And how are you finding ways to still, keep your kind of artist self going and stimulated during this time? Is it doing all that stuff with the children, or is there anything else that you're doing, or?
I mean, I'm dedicating a lot of time to doing the homeschooling, and I'm trying to make that as creative as possible.
It looks amazing. Some of the things I've seen. Didn't you make you made a Rapunzel tower, didn't you? At one
Well,
point?
I didn't make that tower. I don't want other mums out there to think, oh no, I haven't made a Rapunzel tower for my children at homeschooling. I
Terrible
basically
mother.
went into the attic and got out our props for some shows. I was going to see if I could find the picture quickly, but it might take too long. I suppose I've got a bit of an advantage because I've got like props and stuff for 3 children's shows in my attic, but also I'm very used to bunging some stuff together and making it into a puppet. And I've got a lot of people have got loads of arts and crafts stuff, but I've spent a lot of time making for theatre. So I'm doing a lot of that, but I'm also filming my Goodnight Sweethearts 1940s cabaret that I have with my friend Lucy. We're doing some songs in isolation and doing a split screen thing. Yeah, so that's really good. But we've just suddenly realised that actually she can come to the garden if the rain stays off, and we can film our first one together.
Great. And how would we see that?
2 meters apart. So the Goodnight Sweethearts, we've got a Facebook group. Good night being 2 words.
Great. Well, you could pop it on the comments in a minute, and then we could go find that.
Yeah.
Yes. And you've recorded a little story with Lola, actually, haven't you? Which we're going to be releasing. I think next week. So if you want to see a little bit of Peter in action, then what's it called? The Cook and the King?
The Cook and the King.
Great.
Yeah, it's a Julia Donaldson story. It's a bit less known as a Julia Donaldson story.
It's a really lovely story.
Yeah, illustrated by David Roberts, and it's very silly, very funny.
It's great. So we can see a little bit of you in action, and then hopefully when the Anarchist Mobile Library gets on the road, you'll be in there. Yay. Doing your brilliant thing. Thank you so much, Peter. This has been brilliant. I've loved just having that window into your life, and I just love that it's come, from 7 years ago, watching you on stage when I just moved to Bristol and I hadn't made any of my own work, to now have you in one of my shows is a huge honour and kudos for me. So I feel very lucky, and it's been wonderful. So thank you for giving us your time today. And
you're more than welcome.
Yes, send love to the beautiful girls and Jack, and
will do.
Yeah, we'll look forward to your video. Thank you.
Thank you. Am I signing off now?
You are signing off.
All right. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.
That was wonderful. So thank you so much to you guys for being here today, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it later on YouTube or the different channels that we're putting it on. I really hope that you're enjoying it. If you come up with any more questions, then still put them in the comments, and Peter can answer them, or I can ask Peter and put the answers in there. So as you can see here, this is our schedule of things that we've got coming up this month. So at the moment we have Perfect, which is a show that we made in 2017. It's an adaptation of a storybook by Nicola Davies. It's about a boy and the birth of his disabled sister. And kind of the journey that he goes through with that, and it's really gorgeous. It won us a lovely 4-star review from The Guardian when it came out, and it's free to stream, but we ask if you are able to please leave a donation. So that's online at the moment. We've got our Meet the Team Wednesdays every week, which is continuing next week, and then every other Friday we've got workshops for you guys to do at home. So at the moment we have 2 workshops that we've already done. Our first one was a puppet making workshop where you just need newspaper and masking tape to make it, and you make your own puppet at home. And then last Friday we released a brand new workshop, which is kind of basic puppetry skills. So if you've made a puppet, or if you're playing with your kids at home and you want to know actually how to puppeteer, or how to maybe teach them to puppeteer, we've got a brand new workshop for that as well. So head to our Facebook page or to our website tessabide.com, and there's a workshops tab there, and all our workshops are there as well. And we're also doing live storytellings on Sundays as well. So this week I'm going to be reading the Book of Perfect, which is really, really beautiful. It's got amazing illustrations by Kathy Fisher. So there's so much going on. Please do stay tuned on our various sites, and if you are able to, then we're doing all of this content in the hope that we can raise a little bit of money to keep our company going. We're paying all of our artists to do these Meet the Makers on Wednesdays. So a little bit of money for you will just help us to keep going for as long as possible. So in a minute, I'm going to put up a screen that has a link to our fundraising page on Buy Me a Coffee. So it's buymeacoffee.com/Tessabide. And on there you can donate the price of a coffee, which is £3, or £6 if it's two coffees, and from there that would really help us to continue. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you live on Sunday for story time, and next Wednesday for our next Meet the Team. Thank you so much. Bye.